And we welcome you into another edition of the Line Country Kia Goon and Ironhead Show, coming to you from Quaker Steak and Lube today. While the dear Goon is in quarantine, it is good to see you, big guy. How are you feeling?
I'm good, man. I can't complain. No real. It's very odd, to say the least.
Yeah,
Just diagnosed last week and really haven't had any kind of issues other than some headaches and just being tired, but nothing. It's scary to think about how I wouldn't have known we even had it had we not been told we'd been exposed. So that's the scary part to me. But glad it happened the way it did and everybody's okay. So.
Yep, we are too. Wish you and the Carrie the very best in a speedy recovery. Glad you can join us today. Lots to get to. I'm not exactly sure where to start. We have breaking news this afternoon on Tiger Woods being involved in a rollover accident, and sounds like there are some serious leg injuries involved. Not a lot of details coming out right now, but he is in surgery according to the reports out there. And again, it was a single car rollover crash a little after 7 o'clock this morning. So we'll wait for, I guess, more details on that. We've got Penn State basketball in a bit of a tailspin right now, and it's just I don't know. It's frustrating, I guess, Good. If you're a Penn State fan, to see this team consistently be in games and consistently not be able to close the deal. I really do think the lack of depth in comparison with a lot of the contending teams in the Big Ten is a factor, because it is late in these games that they are fading a bit, and with the jump shot off a little more than it is during the course of the game. And I think part of that is again, they just don't have the depth. They go, basically 7 deep. A lot of these teams now in the Big Ten are going, pretty solid 9 or 10 deep.
Yeah, and it's a big revenge game tonight, in my opinion, because Nebraska, they put them in that tailspin, in my opinion, last week. So they really got to have this game. Not only because Nebraska is the worst team in the Big Ten, but they have a little bit of smackdown from whatever happened the last time they played. And just Penn State didn't play well. They have been playing well and disappointing, but you know what? You sort of knew it. We sort of knew it. That you're playing 7 or 8 guys. You're not going to go through the Big Ten season and not have a hard end of the season when you guys are wearing out. I mean, especially taking 2 weeks off like they did and playing those 4 games in that 1 week. And that seemed to be the best they were playing all year, if you remember.
Yeah.
4 games in 7 days, and then they got 3. They had a little team building mojo going, and then I don't know. I think their legs caught up to them, and they got beat down a little bit, and they're paying for it right now.
Yeah, it's just been tough. And again, we'll see what happens tonight with the Nebraska game. Couple of other things, just real quick, and then I really do want to spend some time on the Board of Trustees and the vote on Lash Building, and then the I don't know if you want to call it a rip or whatever with LeVar Arrington and his criticism of Jay Paterno. And I do want to get into that a little bit, because I think there's some worthwhile discussion there moving forward. But before we get to that, I did want to note also, for the first time, and listen, Cale has had some really good teams and will have some really good teams in the future. I never thought I'd see, Goon, a Penn State team go through an entire season without losing a single bout at Rec Hall. They went through the entire year and
amazing.
I mean, it's amazing.
Just imagine if there's people there to see it.
Yeah, that would have been cool. Of course, they did shut out Maryland in the only home meet of the season, 44-0, and then won the 4 extra bouts last night as well. Certainly the biggest news coming out of that was Greg Kirkfleet getting the start at heavyweight, and obviously that is a big deal because Seth Nevels is a terrific wrestler. Greg Kirkfleet is just, and you saw it against, again, the 2 guys he wrestled had a combined, I think, 0-9 record. So I get that, good wrestlers should be dominating competition like that. But you saw with just the way he moves and the quickness, he is I mean, Kerry McCoy, Kyle Snyder. I mean, he's that type of athletic, quick heavyweight, and he just makes it look a lot easier than it actually is. And listen, his conditioning with coming off of the injury is not, and he didn't have to worry about it last night because I think in the 2 bouts combined, he wrestled less than 3 minutes of wrestling, so never did get a full period in. But I really do think he is a guy that, even with a lack of conditioning, is going to be top 3 at worst at the NCAAs. And I'm telling you, I do not rule him out against either Mason Paris or Gabe Stevenson. He's just got that type of remarkable talent. So I think he's going to be right in the mix. And, listen, this is a team that had 6 freshmen in the lineup last night, and we'll have, if everybody's healthy and everything, it's going to be 6 freshmen in the postseason lineup here as well. And I think this team this year will contend with Iowa, but boy, does that bode well for the future of this program.
Now, my question to you is, they're so young, do they know that Iowa's better than them, or are they just young, cocky, and dumb and just going to go out and roll it out there and see what happens, bro?
Yeah, truthfully, I think where they're at is that they are just, and Penn State gets made fun of under Cale for always saying how grateful that they are for the opportunity, but it's a genuine thing. I mean, he preaches it every day in that room, but he's recruiting kids that have that gratitude, that truly appreciate the opportunities. And listen, this year, more so than ever, right? These kids are just grateful every time they have a chance to get out and actually compete against somebody other than in the room. So, like most of these Penn State teams under Cale, I think there is something to be said for the youth and the naivete, but I think more than that, it's just that they want to go out and have fun and make some good memories for themselves with the shortened season. And I do think it's going to come down to Penn State and Iowa at both Big Tens and at the NCAAs, and I think Penn State's going to be right there in the mix. It ultimately comes down to talent. I mean, work ethic and all of that is certainly factors as well. But this is just the 6 freshmen they're putting out there are all in the starting lineup for a reason. I mean, these are special kids, and some of them I think are going to be legendary figures. I mean, I think Ray Kirklead has a chance to be that. Carter Starachi has a chance to be that. Aaron Brooks has a chance to be that. And it was funny. We had a chance to talk with Aaron Brooks after the match last night. And I asked him what it's like to be a veteran leader on this team. He's a true sophomore. And he's one of the veteran leaders, and he really is on this team. And he talked about it. He's like, with as young as we are, that's what he feels like. And he feels like he has to assert himself a bit as a leader in that room. But it's a pretty special group that they have once again going. Obviously, a fun way to end the dual meet season last night, but I can hardly wait for the Big Tens and the NCAAs to get here, because I just think it's going to be a whole lot of fun, no matter how it shakes out. And again, I think Penn State will be right there in the hunt. I think it's at both Big Tens and Nationals, it's going to be a battle between Penn State and Iowa. There are some other teams that, again, could factor in, but I suspect at the end of the day it's going to be Penn State, Iowa 1-2, and with not a whole lot separating the two teams.
And do you think that our guys would be – I'm trying to think of the word, like, again, I mean, they're so young that they probably don't understand how to be a little bit nervous. I don't know that they're looking at it as, boy, we've got to go try to hunt down Iowa, or no, we're Penn State, you still have to beat. It's just a difference, I think, sometimes between the mindset of the athlete and the fan. The fans, obviously, and the broadcasters are looking forward to just seeing a great competition and see how it all plays out.
And I think these guys, and yeah, if you're a Penn State fan, man, we got to get Iowa, and we know they match up well here, but we think we could get them there. I think these kids, and I think it's probably the same for Iowa. I mean, I don't think this is unique to Penn State. I think they just want to get out there and have that chance to compete and test themselves, and let the chips fall where they may. But I don't know that they're necessarily naive in terms of not knowing how good they are or aren't, or how good Iowa is or isn't. I think it's just, man, let's just go out and, to be simplistic, I just go out, do our best, and see what happens. And,
so they wrestled Big Tens last year, right? They did not get to they went to the eve of the NCAAs, right?
Correct. It was I think it was the week of, or maybe it was the weekend before NCAAs that it actually got called. So, they wrestled Big Tens, and they had another week there of thinking we were going to the NCAA tournament before the plug got pulled last year. So, and for that reason too, I think in terms of the NCAAs, right, that you're that much more excited and hungry for Iowa in particular with a little more veteran lineup. Everybody's excited to go to nationals, but the freshmen for Penn State will be there for the first time regardless. But the Iowa guys that missed out last year, and feel like they know they were going to win the national title and had that opportunity taken away, right? I suspect there is a little bit of an edge there to them, and a little extra oomph in the excitement level to get that opportunity to get out there and show that, this is what should have happened last year.
I'm telling you, I told you this last year. I think the Brands has those guys so wired. They're wired so differently out there that I think our guys are that they actually have fun out there. You know what I mean? I am as base a fan as you get, as you well know. But they just seem like they're robotic out there. There's no fun whatsoever. Where Cale has his guys out there enjoying it, having fun.
Oh, yeah.
Actually out there, they're loving it, right? And I think that bodes well for these guys. I mean, to be honest with you, because they don't have that pucker up factor that Iowa might have. That's how I felt about it going over to the Big Tens or to the Nationals last year. But I thought that Cale, as you said, had them peaking at the exact right time as usual. And Iowa may have already peaked at the Big Tens, in my opinion. So, I'm very much looking forward to it. I mean, we got the young bucks out there going after them. Nothing to lose. Really, that's the best part. And what better way to make your name in the Big Ten than to whoop up on Iowa?
Yeah, there's just so many intriguing potential matchups there at the Big Ten tournament, and then again at NCAAs, both with rematches or bouts that we won't see at Big Tens, and then obviously when you get in the national stage, you'll see all kinds of other guys in the mix as well. So I think that it's just going to be a whole lot of fun to again see how it all plays out. And I think for wrestlers, coaches, fans alike, right? It's just neat to have the opportunity after not getting to see how it played out last year. And I'll knock on wood here that we actually do have that opportunity. I shouldn't be presuming that, I suppose, at this point, but. And it's also one of those things with Penn State hosting Big Tens, right? That it's awesome on one hand, but man, they're getting robbed too by not having that opportunity to have a packed Jordan Center, rooting them on and enjoying that whole experience that would come with that in hosting a Big Ten championships.
Is it just parents, just family?
Yeah, and I'm not sure exactly how they're working it with. I don't know if I know they are doing their best to accommodate as many families from all of the teams and coaching staffs and everything that can come in. Obviously, the social distancing will be in place, but I'm not exactly sure what the numbers are in terms of what they're allowing in. I know it's very limited, but in terms of opponents, families, and all of that, some will be allowed in. But again, it is going to be very limited in terms of what's available there for seating at the Bryce Jordan Center for the Big Tens this year. But will be a whole lot of fun. I do want to turn, Goon, and just talk for a bit here, and then we'll take a break on the. And I want to bring it up because there's a couple of things I wanted to make sure I get specifically right, and it's just. Let me just start with the story. This is and it's all over the place, but I'm going to pull from Greg Pickle's story at Penn Live on LeVar Arrington and Jay Paterno here. And Arrington used his podcast platform over the weekend. Again, I'm reading directly from the story here because I want to get a couple things directly accurate. Arrington used his podcast platform over the weekend to, as 24/7 Sports put it, take aim at Jay Paterno after the son of Joe Paterno voted no at a Board of Trustees meeting last week to approve funding to complete Phase 1 of the Lash Building renovation plans. In a statement posted to his blog, Jay Paterno questioned the timing of the spending amid the coronavirus pandemic, noting that tens of millions of dollars were already allocated to improve the building, and argued that around the country there is universal agreement that the future foundation of the amateur college athletics model is at best uncertain. Others would argue that it is ending. Arrington says, quote, "This struck a chord with me because I almost feel like it was a deflection. It was a deflection by Jay Paterno, and I didn't like it. It was a power play by Jay Paterno, and I didn't like it because you know what right now? We have a coach that saved our program, basically. He saved our program, and we're basically saying we're not going to give him any more resources to be able to try to build the program. But if you were the head coach, which you tried to be the head coach, if you were the head coach, you would want all of the resources possible to you to be able to have success so that you could build that program and keep your job and try to rebuild the brand and the legacy that was built there by your dad. So was it. I feel like this was the start of a campaign to create cracks to actually possibly get James Franklin out of coaching at Penn State, and I didn't like it. And just a couple things about it, and then I'll let you weigh in, Goon. But I don't like the way it's being set up as it's either you appreciate James Franklin and the $48 million has to be allocated, or you don't want the $48 million allocated and you don't appreciate James Franklin. This, to me, I think it's a false narrative that's being created by LeVar in this particular case. The other thing is, I don't want Jay Paterno looking at this like he's the head football coach. He's not the head football coach. Yes, the head football coach should be advocating for his program and asking for all the resources he can and doing everything he can to help his program. A trustee should not be saying, hey, we're going to throw as much money at all of the programs as they want because this is what they say they would like to see. That's not what a trustee does. Right. Yeah. Yes, Jay, as a head coach, probably would be asking for this and more, but that's not his role right now. And he shouldn't be. So the fact that in one role you would be doing one thing, it's just like if you're an employee or an employer. When you're an employee, right? Hey, I want more hours off. I want a higher wage. You become an employer. You're not. Man, we got to make sure everybody gets whatever they're asking for as far as the rate of pay and as many days off as they're asking for. That's not your role any longer. So I again, Jay Paterno, I don't think is saying that we will not give you any resources to build a successful program. That's not what I heard. I heard, yeah, $48 million at this particular time for this particular project seems a bit much. And I think Jay's absolutely right about that.
I agree with you and Jay in that regard. Jay, as a board of trustee member, yes, is looking out for the best interests of this university and spending $48 million right now after we've had all these furloughs, all these different pay cuts and this and that. But in the same breath, it totally needs to be done. I mean, it is, if you're going to look for football to be the cash cow that it is in the university and for the area in general, you need to pump the you got to prime the pump or whatever the hell they call that You got to put the money into that because it won't be coming out if you don't. I could see both ways, and I mean, it looked like two guys peeing in the wind together. I mean, against each other. That's what it seems like to me. It's like I could see where because when I first saw it, I was like, you know what? I don't think it's a good time to do that. But then, in the same breath, one's not a good time. I mean, it's about like we said 4 years ago when we first started, we threw our hats in the ring when we joined the Arms War. When Sandy and them and they redid that Lash Building locker room, we joined the arms race. That was our entry into it, and now it's time to pay up, and we got to keep putting money into it. I could see both sides. I definitely see both sides, and I don't know if that's a personal vendetta between the two of them. I really don't know, but Jay speaking as a board of trustee, I can understand. Jay speaking as a former coach and son of Joe Paterno, that's not your platform right now. You know what I mean? Your platform is as a member of the board of trustees, so not as a former football coach and Joe Paterno's son. But in the same breath, LeVar is a little out of line by saying that what makes me upset about what he said is that, he's the one who said James Franklin saved this program. James Franklin did this. There was a lot of people who went into saving this football program, and let's not kid ourselves. James was a big part of it, but for LeVar Arrington to come out and say that James saved Penn State football and now we're not going to give him the resources to do that, it's completely asinine and out of line. It's so distant. He doesn't understand here, I guess. My other thing is that is it self-serving? I mean, we talk about these guys all the time, the guys who are ex-athletes trying to stay relevant. So you say the most off-the-wall, bizarre stuff. Warren Sapp is the one that comes to mind all the time.
Yeah.
When he says, we did this and we did that, and this is the way it was, and that's how it should be. I mean, are you just trying to stay relevant so you can be on TV and get your name in the papers? I don't know. I don't know if it was self-serving or whatnot on LeVar's part.
Yeah, I mean, LeVar may be genuine. I mean, I'm not even, and he certainly has every right to speak out as he sees fit. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just questioning the logic of what Arrington is saying in this particular case, in particular about, listen, I think you can recognize that James Franklin, and yes, to your point, it wasn't James Franklin alone, but yeah, James Franklin had a lot to do with getting this program quickly back to relevancy on the national and conference stage, and there's absolutely no question about that. But it would be with anything. Does that mean because James Franklin brought back Penn State football, and he did it remarkably, and did it much more quickly than I think anybody could have reasonably thought possible at the time. So I do think both Bill O'Brien and James Franklin are owed a lot by Penn State football fans and by the university. That being said, again, I want to get this exactly right. LeVar says, quote, "We have a coach that saved our program, basically. He saved our program, and we're basically saying we're not going to give him any more resources to be able to try to build the program," unquote. So what that sounds like to me is LeVar Arrington saying anything James Franklin, because of the success he had early in his career here at Penn State, and it was remarkable success. Nobody anywhere could possibly dispute that. But does that mean that now he gets a blank check in this money-crazy world of college football? And if James Franklin comes to you next year and says, listen, I saved the program, I want to double my salary, I want $20 million a year, and if you don't give it to me, that means you're not grateful. And by the way, we want to expand the stadium to 125,000 seats. And if you don't do that, you're not – I mean, at some point, right, you can say, whoa, we are really, really appreciative of what you've done, but there is a limit here to what we can reasonably ask of our donors and of our institution. And at the moment, yeah, $48 million for an office building with perfectly working weight machines that were just upgraded, a couple of years ago. No, we're not doing that, but we are still very, very appreciative. I just don't like the insinuation that if you're not willing to give James Franklin anything and everything he's asking for, that you're not grateful for what's been done. I also question, and maybe this is me being naive, Goon. When you were, and I get that it's an ever-changing world, but when you were on the recruiting trail, being recruited, I'm talking about, or even in the kids when you were involved in recruiting, do you think anybody anywhere, again, maybe I'm naive, and by God, Ironhead, you better get it through your head. It is absolutely the reason these kids are going to various schools. I just find it hard to believe that a kid is going to visit Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, and he's going to go back home and say, man, I really like that James Franklin and the coaching staff. We really connected. Boy, that stadium looked cool. Great passion there. Love the academic setting in the classroom. But, boy, a couple of those assistant coaches' offices just looked kind of bland to me. And those weights
weren't that nice.
Those weights on the weight rack, they look like they were a couple of years old. They didn't look shiny and brand new to me. I liked everything else about Penn State, but nah, the coaches' offices and the weights just didn't look good enough for me, so I'm out of here.
Well, you know what?
Tell me that $48 million is needed to keep up on the recruiting front.
Well, I say like this: the $48 million was well before Corona, so this was already slotted. So they haven't just created this since Corona, since this whole lockdown thing. So I can understand where they want to get it off the ground and get it going. I can see it because this is the grand plan. With what you're saying, did you read Brandon Short had a thing on his social media platform? I believe it was Sunday, talking about how he backed he okayed the $48 million because he said he wouldn't have come to Penn State had it not been for these facilities and this and that. And I that struck me as a little weird. I didn't understand what he meant by that, but it was the bells and whistles that made him want to come to Penn State. I mean, that wasn't what made it for me, because we really didn't have great facilities when we were here. I mean, they had the last building after I had left, so we were East area. The biggest thing they had was Haluba Hall, which was an absolute horrible abomination. So, I mean, I don't know what he was saying by what he said, that the reason he came here is because of the facilities. But, like I said, to go back what I said about this $48 million had been planned for 3 or 4 years. So this isn't something new that just came up. It's just the timing of it during the lockdowns, during the pandemic crisis, all this, and people not working, and then we're slapping a $50 million improvement onto our facility, which was upgraded 3 or 4 years ago. So again, like I said before, I can see it from both sides. I get it from both sides, but this is part of the game anymore, man. I know we keep on always say that times are different now, and they are. We the days of the old school Penn State, are over. I mean, we threw our hat in the ring. We are, keeping up with the Joneses per se, and that's where we're at right now. But I do want to say this also, if we're still talking about it, LeVar, and I got to say this, he was the only Letterman, in my opinion, who was against Bill O'Brien. And they talk about how the family came back together. James says, we got to bring all the Letterman back and this and that. There's only a couple guys who left, and LeVar was the most vocal because he wanted Tom Bradley to be the head coach. So, again, I don't know what he's trying to do by saying this. I don't know if it's a personal thing between him and Jay. I just don't know. I don't know why he would come out and literally take aim at Jay. And Jay was just speaking as a board of trustee person. I get it, but we have to air our news, publicly, like those two just did, in my opinion. I mean, we have to do it out in the public.
Yeah, I'm okay. Personally, I'm okay with that aspect of it as well, because I just assume that we actually have transparency and go ahead and have these discussions out in the open, and let people air their thoughts. We did have Sally checking in and saying she doesn't have a problem with the $48 million if it was raised by Letterman and alumni. It's the fact that it's being borrowed at a time where the university is laying people off, is changing its contracts, which were in place before COVID. I mean, they're changing everything as a result of COVID, but by God, we can't change the football office plans. What? Everything else is changing. Why is the Lash Building project the one thing? Well, no, by God, we've got to stay on course with. Everything else, we got to put the brakes on. And I'm sorry, even with Brandon Short, and I'll have to read his piece. I find it hard to believe, especially because when Brandon was being recruited, Penn State, the football officers were not matching the football officers Ohio State and Alabama and Michigan.
Absolutely.
So if he's saying that the facilities are what sold him at that time, then there's no reason for him to be voting in favor of the Lash Building upgrades now, because this is far beyond anything that was done when Brandon Short was being recruited, even relative to the the times and allowing for the escalation that has occurred since.
Sure. I mean, he was a true freshman my fifth year, so he was in East Area locker room. So it wasn't, he didn't get out until 99, so I don't even know if he actually was ever in the Lash Building, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, think about it. I mean, if he's looking at the East Area locker room and the weight room we had in there, which was a great weight room for back in the day, but then it started to pale in comparison as everybody else just started getting into that arms war. And again, we joined it 3 years ago, and now now you can't just dip your foot into it. You got to jump in. I mean, that's just the way it is. But the timing, again, I go back to this was planned for years, but I can agree with what you're saying is, everything else has been put on a hold. Why do we have to push this through? And it is just a recruiting thing. It's just, they have to improve and keep going and get, bigger and better. And it's scary to think about, but that's where we're going right now.
I mean, I know that's what we're being told. I really do wonder if recruits are actually that impressed with an assistant coach's office space and with whether the weights are 6 months or 3 years old. I find that hard to believe that's what a recruit is making a decision on.
200,
but
225 weighs the exact same, whether it was a 50-year-old barbell or a brand new barbell, buddy.
That's been my experience over the years. So, and listen, they are moving forward with it, and again, that money will be paid off by the taxpayers ultimately over a long period of time. We'll take a break here. We are back with more of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show after this.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorentos available on our lot, starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Introducing the new dusted Ghost Pepper at Quaker Steak and Lube. 11,700 SHUs of fire dusted on award-winning wings. Try it, or are you afraid of the heat?
He's not getting that car in there.
No, sir.
Hey, look at these two troublemakers.
Johnny, how are you?
Wicked car, is that new?
Yeah, it's a Sonata. Let me park it.
Oh, you're not fitting your car in there.
Chris, stop being a smart pants, all right? Look who's got Smart Park. Even Bruiser can park it. Just hit the clicker. I can park it anywhere.
Beaver Stadium?
Parked it.
Even the Jordan Center?
Parked it.
Even Medlar Field?
Even Bruiser parked it.
Hey, you can't park there.
He's got Smart Park!
Wicked smart.
Blaze Alexander Hyundai. It's wicked smart.
Family walking you back. I do love those spots, and I love the thick salad here at Quaker Steak and Lube as well. Appreciate as always, Quick and Luke for hosting us here on the show every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. What do you have?
I had to make Gary made some bites because I had to have some kind of wing in my mouth. I felt like I'd missed the Quick and Lube so much.
Yeah.
It's been 3 weeks since I've been there.
I have to reintroduce you when you get back down
here. We'll be all right. We're getting there.
Goon, a couple things. Just as a Penguins fan, I'm a little fired up about the way the Penguins have been playing, and this matchup with the Capitals, two teams that can certainly score, but also can give up goals. Watching it end up being a 1-0 game, but it feels like this is a game that should be in the. The winning team will have 5 or 6 anyway before it's all over here tonight, which will be fun for fans to watch. But I am encouraged by. I do think the Penguins are starting to gel and figure some things out, and I have been encouraged by the way they're playing, and I think buying in a little more to what's being preached in that locker room in terms of winning hockey. And this will be another. Again, I think good test at this stage of the season to just kind of see if they can keep building here and kind of keep that momentum going.
It feels like the Flyers have played the Bruins every other day, and the Penguins have played the Capitals every other day. I mean, that's really what it feels like to me. Your Penguins, they're struggling a little bit, but they're still winning. They're not. I mean, I saw a stat the other day. It was the first time they were leading in like 3 or 4 games, and your fear going into the season was that they were old and this and that, and some guys had to step up, and they haven't really stepped up, but they actually are. They're catching up, in my opinion. They're still the Pittsburgh Penguins, and Sid's still one of the top 3 or 4 players in the league, and Flyers are coming down coming across the turnpike eventually to come see Ironhead. So looking forward to that. But yeah, I mean, I do enjoy watching the Penguins play. I mean, I don't mind them. I mean, it's an exciting brand of hockey watching them in the Capitals play because there is that little angst between Malkin, Ovechkin, and Crosby. So they're good games to watch.
Yeah, Goon. This is just such a strange year, I guess, for all sports, and we've had the Flyers have been disrupted so often here that it's just hard to really get a feel for anything, right? With any consistency, and I guess in some ways it may make the postseason for all of these sports a little more exciting because you're not exactly sure. In many cases, I think how things are actually progressing and what teams are actually figuring out how to put it together when the playoffs roll around.
Yeah, it's the thing about this. The Flyers have played 2 games since the Super Bowl. Put that in perspective, Ironhead. And then they played, right? They had 6 of their top 9 forwards, and the last 2 games have been out. Grady was on the 4th line playing for the Flyers at left forward. So, can only go up from there for the Flyers, in my opinion, right now. And they got the Rangers and the Devils and the Sabres this week. I don't know when the next Flyers-Penguins game is, but it should be a pretty good one, buddy.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. I want to circle back to the conversation we're having before the break and just pick up on one other element there that Jay Paterno was talking about when he voted against the funding, and that is, what the long-term prospectus is here for intercollegiate athletics and how significantly the model that we grew up with, it already has changed pretty substantially, right, from when we were growing up. And it feels like bigger and more sweeping changes are coming. And I am wondering about the wisdom, especially when we're talking about borrowed money, of spending money when, again, we don't know if in very short order this thing is going to completely change and that the colleges as it stands now, aren't going to be involved the way they are now with these athletic teams, and it may end up being a separate thing. It may not. I mean, again, there's a lot of uncertainty about the future here and the way this thing is going to progress, and I think. I think Jay's right to at least point out that, listen, this is money that we could be spending, and that in 3 years, that's just going to be a vacant building because it has nothing to do with the university, or it's, sold off to.
You're saying to break apart from the NCAA type of thing.
Yeah, again, there are a lot of different things, especially coming out of coronavirus. And again, I'm not making any predictions. I'm not here to say that the sky is falling. And I don't even know some of these changes would be – I think some of these changes could be good depending on how things shake out. And listen, do I think it's possible that the college model as it currently exists in essence remains? Sure, right? That is one of the possibilities. But – I also think it is possible with the financial situation now, as we look ahead, that it's we wouldn't recognize, a decade from now, what college athletics is based on what, again, grew up with in the 80s or early 90s.
I did see that Notre Dame, they blocked their players from being involved in the college football on the video games. They don't want their players' likenesses. So I'd be interested to see would other teams back that, would other conferences back that up?
Yeah.
If they're true about paying players for their likenesses and stuff, so why give a computer gaming company carte blanche to use everything they want from teams?
Yeah.
Logos, uniforms, numbers, height, stats, all that stuff. So Notre Dame, getting being out in the forefront like they like to be. So I agree with that decision. But I mean, it would be interesting to see what conferences are going to get on board if they're going to release new college football games. But I mean, that's the first step. I mean, is the NCAA going to go away? Is there going to be 5 power conferences run by whoever? And then you're right. I mean, where is the Lash building going to be part of Penn State? Or it is such a changing environment. I mean, it could be completely different. And that's scary to think about, but it also could be a better thing. I don't know. But it's a good point you bring up, to be honest with you. I'll be thinking about that the next 2 damn days.
Well, and again, I've been talking with some people. Nobody really knows how all of this is going to shake out. I've been reaching out to a couple friends that are involved in the administrative level of college athletics, and they're very unsure, I guess, about long-term how everything with COVID and everything else is going to impact athletics. One of the things that I think is going to be interesting to see, and again, I'm not making any predictions here. I'm curious to see how this plays out in the future is, and I think we've talked about this, Goon, like you and I still consider myself a sports junkie. And I might not be the best example because I also have a new family, and my 5-year-old is I'm running all over the place with him. But I am not following sports now, even as it's come back from the pandemic. In general, the way I did. Now, I'll still follow the Penguins. I'm still obviously following Penn State Wrestling and Penn State basketball. But generally, but even with like Penn State basketball, I mean, there are games that I never would have missed in the past. And I'm like, I've got to get some other things done right now. But, the Big Ten Network, the ratings for wrestling, which is good news, are up. They were up, I think it was, I might be a percentage or two off, but I think it was up 38% last year from the previous year. And through 12 meets this year, it was up another 23%. Which is fantastic on one hand. On the other, obviously part of that is because the people that can't get into the have to watch it at home if they want to see it. So that at least partially explains that for sure. But one of the things we don't know is where is people's interest in sports going to be on the other side of this? How willing are people going to be to go back to spending the way they were at major league parks and NFL stadiums and major college stadiums versus, hey, I can just sit at home and watch it for free on TV, and boy, that's a much better deal. And with standard of living questions right now with the economy and everything else, I think that's a question as well, so that even with the best teams that and let's say Penn State does have a national title contender here for the next 5 years, does Penn State still draw the 107,000 plus on a regular basis for the big games, or on the other side of this, both because priorities change and also just it was fun watching it on TV, that's a good experience and good enough for me. Those are some of the questions that, again, are out there that until we actually get a couple of years down the road, we're not going to have definitive answers. And there are people making predictions both ways. Oh, yeah, people are going to come back en masse and tickets will be harder to get than ever. And others are saying, no, I think with the economy and with everything else, we're good. We'll just stay at home or and watch it on TV or just find something else to do with our time. So,
no doubt. I mean, look at the NFL. That's where I start with football viewing, and it works its way down through college, in my opinion. And the football's down in a 10
way down.
Yeah. I mean, if I can go to the store and buy a 75-inch 5K television and sit in my living room where it's 68 degrees, I got a cold beer, and my dog's at my feet, and I can watch the game on television, or sit outside, it's 3 degrees and freeze my room, I'm going to sit all the time. So I think that's where people are getting right now. I mean, my case is I have a 65-inch television. I put the satellite dish up outside of the stadium. I love the tailgating. I love that aspect, that environment of it. I love it. But I like watching games on television. I really do. I feel as if I'm more into the game and have a better feel for the game, and you see different plays. You hear some different stuff that you don't see when you're at the stadium. So to each his own, but you're right. I mean, I deal with a ton of people about this time of year. They're starting to plan trips to Penn State next year, and there still is a demand of people who still want to come up here. But there is a demand of people who are just like, I don't really need tickets. I just want to go up and have be amongst the atmosphere. So you can see where you're going with that big time and where it would be in 5-10 years from now. Who knows? They keep on raising prices. They're gonna get people out of there.
Well, yeah, and to a large extent, and they may be okay with that. If the Super Bowl is a great example. I mean, there's very few just everyday average Joes that are working their way to the Super Bowl, right? It's either your company is heavily involved and is sponsoring, and I mean that's how the everyday Joes, you work for the right company, can get tickets. But I mean, it's a very corporate affair. And again, I'm not even criticizing that. That's just a reality. And again, on the other side of this, with the pandemic, that's another component, is how willing are the TV sponsors to continue to spend the money they are on those sponsorships if these the viewing for the Super Bowl keeps dropping like that. It's still obviously a significant event that gets a lot of eyeballs in front of the TV set, but are you going to continue to be willing to spend the exorbitant money to advertise there if the number of eyeballs is dropping? And again, a lot of questions that a lot of people much smarter than you and I are trying to figure out, and they're not figuring that out. Not right now, not with any definitiveness anyway.
You know what? Look at the days of people going back and like, oh, I got to go to that game. I got to scalp a ticket to go to that game. You don't see that much anymore. People are dropping like a destination type of thing. So I think that we're okay here, but I think that other places that, like, I think the NFL is going to be hurting. I really do. I think the college will still keep their allegiances because we all do have that binding and we all went to school here. We're all fans type of thing where I think the NFL and pro sports in general, they might start losing people because, one, it is getting so expensive and people just don't have the money right now. They really don't.
Yeah, again, it's just going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, I guess, as we move forward. Did want to talk real quickly, too, about the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club live event tonight at State College here, where they're going to have a junior circuit that'll start here at 6 o'clock, and then the senior circuit at 7:30. And I am really excited to see. It's almost going to be a tournament feel because a lot of the guys are wrestling multiple matches, including Jason Knoll and Kyle Snyder.
How is that happening and why?
Well, this is so one of the things for wrestling, and I just wrote a column today for the Pennsylvania Wrestling magazine on the fact that with the economic uncertainty right now with universities, this is a really important time for wrestling because there is some momentum here when you look at the TV ratings, when you look at the attendance figures. Last year, we had 24 schools had average attendances for wrestling of 1,000 or more. And it was a record, I think 38 schools that had at least 700 average attendance. And again, the viewership for the Nationals has, the ratings have been up. The viewership dropped very nominally the 2 years ago, last time they had the championships. Although I'm really curious to see what they are this year with, I think, the hunger that folks are excited for. So what these live events do, though, is create a potential revenue stream for, obviously, this goes to the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, which is separate from the university. But I think there are some opportunities there for the universities to capitalize on this type of thing as well. But the beauty of these are you can set them up any way you want. You can invite who you want, and whoever accepts, and whoever declines. But there's an economic model that's in play here for the regional training centers, including the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, to figure this out. And one of the things they decided with this one is, listen, we have some stars, and we are part of this is kind of working toward the Olympic Games now, right? And at the Olympics, you're wrestling multiple times in a day. So why not give a little opportunity here for these guys to get some big-time matches, multiple matches in a day, and let our fans see how a Kyle Dake matches up with both a Vincenzo Joseph and a Jason Nolf. And Kyle Snyder, again, is wrestling 3 matches. So I forget. I think there's 17 bouts in all on the senior circuit tonight. And I just think, again, it's just going to be fun. If you're a wrestling fan, it's just a wonderful opportunity to sit back and watch some of the stars in the sport. So 6 o'clock is when it starts with the junior, and 7:30 with the senior circuit on Rockfin. And looking forward to it. If you get a chance, check it out tonight.
Who you call it with?
Sandy Roberts, who is a big name in women's wrestling and founder of Wrestle Like a Girl. I'm really looking forward to it. It should be a whole lot of fun tonight. So looking forward to that. And yeah, we're going to have fun. Goon,
Snyder has 3 matches tonight.
Say it again.
Snyder has 3 matches tonight.
Yes,
in an hour.
3 matches on the card tonight. What's that?
In like 1 hour, he's going to wrestle 3 different dudes.
It'll be over probably. One event probably over the course of a couple of hours before.
That's awesome.
An hour and a half anyway. But yeah, no, I mean it's intense. There's no doubt about it. But again, it's just going to be a lot of fun, and I give credit to all these guys for being willing and wanting to get out there and compete and showcase their skills and take advantage of the opportunity as well.
So, side note is going to the wrestling club. As the wrestling club, do the wrestlers get any kind of pay for this or anything? I mean, if you don't know, if you talk about it, you don't talk about it.
No, they do, and it's all. I mean, it's all worked out with contracts with the freestyle guys. Now, I don't know if, to be honest with you, I don't know how that exactly works. I mean, they couldn't be paid directly with so they are getting paid, and again, it's worked out between the club and the individuals with the contract ahead of time. So again, it'll be It'll be fun tonight. I'm looking forward to it. Goon, we wish you continued success on the recovery road, and we'll talk to you again Thursday. We hope you join us on Thursday as well. Until then, be good and be safe.
See you guys.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorentos available on our lot, starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Introducing the new dusted Ghost Pepper at Quaker Steak and Lube. 11,700 SHUs of fire dusted on award-winning wings. Try it, or are you afraid of the heat?
Hi, Johnny Broom here. If you're in the market for a new Hyundai or a pre-owned car, truck, van, or SUV, nobody beats a Blaze Alexander deal. But don't take my word for it.
Hey, Goon says tell him Johnny sent you.
Hey, tell him Johnny sent ya.
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Wait, tell him Juan or tell him Johnny sent you?
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Here at Bill Pickles Tap Room, we say,
Tell him Johnny sent you.
and remember,